Fred Bear said, the easiest way to ease a troubled mind is to shoot your bow. Just get your arrows and get your bow and go afield, and things get better. Whatever kind of day you had got better.
I know when I first had my shop, I was, working all the time. And, when you're not actually at work, you're thinking about, work. And I was trying to get some, some huntings in, and I'm in the tree stand. And, it took quite a few times out before I could finally just sit there and hunt.
And
You're
relax.
constantly thinking about, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And then, you're thinking about that, and you're not even enjoying being outside. And then,
Yeah,
after 3 or 4 times getting out, it's like, okay, now I can finally relax.
relax.
And
Yes, I find it it's sometimes difficult. I like to have long stretch. I like to have, like, when I take a vacation, for instance, to hunt. It takes a day or two for the outside world to kind of go away. If
yeah,
I'm doing an elk hunt, for instance, if I'm going to go, like the last one I did was Idaho, do it yourself in Idaho, and had a blast doing it. But it took a day or two before I feel like I am a hunter, like I'm in the woods again, because there's so many outside distractions that resonate. Like you said, you're thinking about business, or you're thinking about this or that, and I find that after a day or two, really about 2 days, is when I start to settle into the rhythm of the hunt, and I can start to just allow the kind of primal side of things to take over, where I'm actually a hunter again. And it's tough because we're bombarded constantly with media. We're on social media, we're on our phones, most of us work with computers. You're on a computer. There's just this constant information upload. And I think it takes a little while for your brain just to get into that Zen like state where it's like, okay, I'm back to doing something that humans have been doing for thousands of years. And there's your body and soul recognizes that, and in my opinion.
yeah, it's archer's been around for thousands of years. And in fact, I found evidence being 64,000 years old.
Yeah, wow.
So, um, yeah, it's a sport that's been around for a long time. It's going to stay around. Now, in the last 10 years, it's really changed the technology and compound bows. Um, it's been that many years, and they didn't even have the first compound bow until late 60s. And then weren't
Hmm.
really commercially available until the mid 70s, before like the Bear Whitetail
Yep.
2 come out, mid 70s. And, and then what they've changed from there in the last 50 years to
Yeah.
what they have now.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's changed a lot. And just in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
from the technology from the old 2001 2002 bows, where they're real tall axle to axle, and now that they're parallel and beyond parallel limbs. And the no vibration, they don't jump in your hand like the old bows did, and they just kind of
Right.
sit still. And
Yeah.
I think,
For me, so I'm a traditional bow hunter, and I hunt with a longbow and hunt with wood arrows. And I'm probably, as far as timeline goes, I still have a laminated bow. It's still a wood bow, but you're shooting wood arrows. Then you think back to 10,000 years ago on this continent. If I'm not mistaken, that's when we see evidence that archery was part of their lives anyway. My bow is pretty close to that, but it's still technology wise light years ahead, because I'm not shooting a dogwood shoot and a stone point and
right.
a self bow. Even though I've done all those things, it was really cool to do. Um, you know, no matter what you're doing archery wise, I think it's still very much embedded into your DNA. We as hunters, and so many folks that don't. I feel sorry for the folks who don't think of hunting in a good light or never want to try it, because I really do think that it taps into something